sensation, really snug and warm for that day. So I enjoyed it, didn't really think much of it, but I did begin wearing it when I'd go to the regular yoga classes afterwards. Put it on in the beginning and then take it off at the end, and that was it. There was nothing to it. But somehow knew that it really just felt good. And one day after a really intense weekend, I was feeling really sort of great. And this was a time in life where things were really a bit tough. On paper it looked great, but something, that sort of dissatisfaction with things was really starting to build. Had this really intense weekend, and I was getting a shower, getting ready to go to work, into the office the next morning, and this thought occurred to me, what if I wore my turban to work? And it was an absolutely terrifying, dreadful thought, so I said, go away. But it was kind of echoing, and right before I went to work, I got dressed, and I said, no, I'm going to do it. And so I tied a turban and went into the office, and I worked for a design studio, so it's kind of trendy, they quite like people's interesting quirks, and I was known to be quite outgoing in the way that I carried myself, and so everyone thought, well, cool, look what he's done today. Kind of a funny thing, which it wasn't for me at all. I wasn't trying to be funny, but that's, I didn't really say anything. So the day goes by, and I had a manager and a boss, and they both went out for the day. And the afternoon comes, and there's a phone call, and it's for me, and it's the manager. And the manager says to me, we've got an important meeting tomorrow with a client that we need you there for. Can you come in a little bit early? Yeah, no problem. Suited and booted, that whole thing, without the turban. And right at that moment, I hadn't made any decisions about whether I was going to, this was a total lifestyle change, I was going to continue to wear it. Even the next day, I had put no thought to it. But right when he said it, somehow I knew that I couldn't, if I didn't wear it, it couldn't be because of that. I had to stand for myself. So without hesitation, I said, I'll gladly come in and I'll be there early, but with the turban on. So that goes away, and 5 minutes later, I get another phone call, and this time it's the boss. And the boss just starts going off into this, just railing at me. Who do you think you are? This isn't a joke. This is a serious business. We're trying to, we have clients. What are they going to think? You can't just joke around here. And I said, listen, calm down. You've seen over the course of the past few months, I've been kind of going through different changes and lifestyle changes and that sort of thing. And this isn't a joke. This is part of that change. And so again, I reiterated that I'll gladly come in and obviously go to the meeting, but it's going to be with a turban. And sort of a long pause. And then that right moment, he said one of the most incredible things. He said, fine, but if you come into work again without wearing that turban, then you're in serious trouble. And right then and there, it was like that, that extra affirmation that was required to kind of help me carry it and to keep wearing it. And like I said, I hadn't made the decision, but when I had to stand for it, then that helped me make the decision. It helped me keep it. So for me, it was about that process. I grew up in a very rural part of America that's New Jersey, but kind of akin to this, what people think of the southern United States. I mean, the first Indian I ever met was in university. My parents didn't have their passport until they were in their 60s. So that I was coming from a very rural place. And it's kind of funny, the real big test was the first time I wore my turban back home. And I flew into the airport, and Philadelphia Airport has this strip where it's kind of designed for people to walk down, and their mothers at the end go, oh, my son. And this is totally what my mother did. So every time I would go home to visit prior, she'd be at the end of this runway, and she'd be, my son, big hug, that whole scenario. And so I'd warned them this time that I was going back that I looked a little different, brace yourself. I didn't tell them what, they didn't dare ask. And so I'm proceeding down this little runway strip to the exit. I see my mother at the end, and I finally get into the point where she can see me, and suddenly, rather than what's that, her face just total shock. And I walked up to them, my dad, and they turned around, and we kept walking, didn't say a word. And there was no common experience. It's not something, like I said, no sort of cultural travel. There's no way I could have explained it. And even through the course of that, and through the course of my extended family, seeing them over the course of this trip back, I learned that I really just had to be completely cool and be who I was without trying to explain it. And eventually people realized that I'm just me. It's just a new part of me. And they came to accept that. And it was an incredible experience to go through. Outstanding.